This video is kindly being sponsored by Scentbird. Hello friends! Today I will be sharing with you a list of books that I think would be perfect to read this spring. Hello friends, my name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be another seasonal book recommendations list. Now, as you guys know, I am what we call a seasonal mood reader, which means a lot of the books that I reach for tend to have something to do with the current season. I love doing this because I feel like when you read books that take place in the season that you're currently in, it can actually help me romanticize whatever season I'm in. This is especially true for spring and autumn, because spring, as we know, is peak cottagecore season. And honestly, all I want to do is live in a cottage and bake pies all day. So since that isn't the current case, let me read about people who can do that. But before we spring into the list, I would like to thank today's sponsor, which is Scentbird. Hi, do you enjoy smelling good? Me too! I just love a good fragrance, and there's something really magical about finding a fragrance that you really love and that you also really connect to. Because perfumes can make you feel pretty or glamorous or daring, depending on exactly what scent you choose to wear for the day. And as someone who is a big fan of fragrance, I was so excited when I first learned about Scentbird. So what exactly is Scentbird? Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service. You choose a new designer fragrance to try out every month for just $17. It's flexible, so you can choose any month without penalties, and there are over 600 designer brands to choose from. Perfumes, colognes, and unisex options as well. I personally like to change out which fragrance I wear with the season, and I also really love buying specific perfumes for special occasions and trips. So today I have 4 fragrances to share with you from Scentbird. The first scent that I requested is from Burberry, and it's called My Burberry. And the top notes include sweet pea, geranium, patchouli, rose, and bergamot. The next scent is from Soleil Vibrant, and it is called Lalique. And the top notes for this are bergamot, pear, jasmine, vanilla, and dreamwood. And then the next 2 fragrances were actually very kindly sent to me and picked out by the Scentbird team. And the first one is Solage House of, and it's called Whispers of Truth. And the top notes for this one are grapefruit, bergamot, orange, rose, and jasmine. And then finally, the last one that was sent to me is by Catherine Malandrino, and it's called Violet Gem. And the notes for this are sun-kissed passion fruit, cucumber dew, sheer melon, water lotus, and pink lychee. And I have to say, I think every single one of these perfumes would be perfect for the springtime, but my favorite is absolutely the Soleil Vibrant. It just smells so fresh and so understated, and I am just so obsessed with it. Also, I love the Scentbird packaging too. I just feel like it's super convenient. I feel like you could chuck it into a purse or a bag, but also I still think it looks really elegant and cute. And Scentbird has very kindly actually given me a code to share with all of you, so thank you so much to Scentbird. If you love perfumes just as much as I do and you are interested in trying their subscription service, you can actually use my code, which is Roseland, to get your very first month for 55% off, which is such a good deal. Basically, that means you're spending around $8 to get a designer perfume. Amazing! So again, if you're interested in trying out Scentbird, and I highly recommend that you do so, you can use my code, which is Roseland, to get 55% off your very first month. All of the links for Scentbird will be down below in my description, and I highly recommend you check them out. So now let's get back to the video. Okay guys, so this is kind of how I've divided this particular spring list. The very first portion are going to be books that have just come out or that are going to be releasing this spring. And then the second portion of the video are going to be backlist titles that I think give me all of the spring vibes. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and officially start the book recommendation list with the new and anticipated releases that are out this spring. So let's kick things off with a book that was just released this year, and that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, a novel by Heather Fawcett. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what time of year this particular book takes place in, and I don't care. I feel like spring is always peak time to read about fairies. you know? So this is an adult fantasy, and I've got to be honest with you, I'm kind of obsessed with the premise. We're following a Cambridge professor named Emily Wilde, and Emily Wilde is trying to compile all of the information and research she has done about fairies. And while she's compiling all of this list, Emily actually moves to a sleepy little town where she meets her new academic rival, aka it's gonna be an enemies to lovers. I love a good enemies to lovers, but like an enemies to lovers with fairies, I'm feeling 5 stars. The next book I have here is going to be Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson, and this is an adult literary fiction that just dropped. And like, honestly, everything about it sounds so intriguing to me. We're following 3 sisters who all come from a very wealthy and prominent New England family, and I think they end up living in New York. And the story is following who they end up like dating in New York City and all of their lives, I guess. I don't know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm really interested in this because I love a book that explores rich people drama. The messy New England vibes are peak in literature for me. I don't know. The next book I'm super excited to read this spring actually has not come out yet. It comes out in April, and it's by Emily Henry, and it is called Happy Place. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that the premise sounds awesome, but I would read literally anything from Emily Henry. I have never read a romance from her that was less than 5 stars. I would give that woman all of my money. And the only things that I know about this book is that it's about a couple who makes a pact to pretend to be together even though they have broken up for this like annual week-long vacation with their friends. And I'm honestly so excited for it. Like, I love a good fake dating trope, especially when there's like past history. I'm so excited, and I fully trust Emily Henry. And honestly, I feel like romance is perfect for every single season of the year, you know? Okay, so the next book that I recommend is one that, I'm gonna be honest with you, was a little bit of a cover buy. It's a new middle grade that just dropped, and I am so obsessed with the premise. Now, hear me out. I know that everyone says that like family will reading murders are all kind of similar to Knives Out. And when I say everyone says that, I really mean I say that. But I promise you, this one really is giving me Knives Out vibes in like the world's best way, except it's Knives Out meets wholesome middle grade, and I am so here for it. So this is called The Swifts, and this is by Beth Lincoln. And it has lots of really, really cute illustrations throughout as well. And the illustrations are by Claire Powell. So this book is following Shenanigan Swift, and Shenanigan comes from this very, very unique family where every single time somebody is born, they actually flip to a page in the dictionary and they name the child based on a word. And then they expect that child to live up to all of the words. And so Shenanigan apparently is supposed to be a little sister, a risk taker, and a mischief maker. She one day goes to this huge sweeping mansion, as is classic in every mystery that I love, and she meets all of her family for this big extended family reunion. And then while she is there, somebody pushes down, I think like an uncle down the stairs, and there is an epic murder mystery that takes place at this family reunion. And so Shenanigan actually wants to try to become a detective and find out what happened and who pushed her uncle down this flight of stairs. It sounds so cute. I am living for the cover. I am living for the vibes. I love a good Knives Out type of story. And I don't know, I have really, really high hopes for this book. The next book is a book that I actually purchased because I belong to a local book club. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that I finally got into this local book club. But anyways, I belong to a local book club, and this is the book that we are reading for the month. And it's called I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Mackay. And this is a dark academia thriller that is set in the spring semester when apparently there was a murder that took place at this very posh boarding school. Like literally just take all of my money, you know? So it's actually following Thalia, and Thalia is a podcast host as well as a professor. And I think she actually tries to crack different true crime cases, and she's actually offered a spot back to teach at her old boarding school. And while she was there, her roommate was murdered. And she has never tried to crack open this case and figure out what has happened. She's never been interested. But while she is there at her old school, she decides to look back on what happened that spring semester all of those years ago. And apparently not everything is as cut and dry as she thought. I am so excited for this for like a million reasons. The first is that it's a dark academia thriller, okay? Like we love it. But the second reason is because, again, it's for a book club. And maybe I'll make book friends, you know? And the final new anticipated spring release that I am super excited to read is called Wayward, and this is by Emily Hart. Now listen, I know that it's not all about the aesthetics, okay? But at the same time, it kind of is. And this book is the most aesthetic, beautiful book that I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Not only that, it literally looks like a creepy cottagecore dream. Look at the cover, you guys, come on. I mean, look at it. She is absolutely stunning. So this particular book is following 3 different perspectives, one of which is about a woman who flees her abusive and toxic relationship and she goes to her family's cottage. And while she's there, she actually learns a bunch of secrets about a person from her past. I think it's actually a person in her family who was accused of murder in the 1600s. And I think another perspective actually is from that woman in the 1600s who was accused of murder and witchcraft. So we've got cottagecore vibes, we've got family secrets, we've got history, but also we've got potential magic, and like, you can't get better than that premise. It just sounds so good. And that wraps up all of the anticipated new releases of the spring. So let's go ahead and go to the backlist titles I'm very excited to read and also that I recommend. So let's kick things off with Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. That's right, it's a classic and a romance. It is the OG enemies to lovers, slow pining, hand twitching love story of my dreams. And it is perfect to read this spring. So if you've never read Jane Austen, I think you should. Even though her books are considered classics, and they rightfully are classics, I think that her writing is actually very accessible. And so if you're a person who maybe is a little intimidated by classics, don't be, because like Jane Austen, she's got your back, okay? And this book is of course following Lizzie Bennet, and Lizzie Bennet and her sisters are all trying to get married, as you do in the time period. And we're following her and her kind of strange relationship with Mr. Darcy, who is at first a bit of a snob, and he thinks that Elizabeth is way below his station because he is prejudiced and prideful. Or was she prideful? Or was she prejudiced because he was rich? I really don't know. I don't remember, but I do remember falling in love with this book and falling in love with the romance. And I just think it's worth it, especially if you love like a slow build and an enemies to lovers. There are so many beautiful, heartwarming moments in this book. I could not recommend reading it more, but also I could not recommend this gorgeous edition more. It just feels very like springy to me. There are different page colors, there's full illustrations, there's little illustrations. I mean, look at that. How cute is that? I think that's a chicken. So cute. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. It's the family. It's the Bennet family. Are you kidding? Oh, look, here's a ball. Here we go. Here they are at a ball. Are you like, how cute is that? Oh my gosh. So if you're looking for an immersive experience, I could not recommend this edition more. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it is illustrated by Alice Patullo, and if I can remember to, I will link it down below. Let's go with another romance. This one is a modern romance, and I actually read this on my Kindle. It is currently available on Kindle Unlimited. So this book actually has a bit of a backstory. I posted on my Instagram that I needed to feel a little cheered up, and I also really, really wanted to be taken out of my head. I wanted a book that was just going to make me laugh and like really, really have fun. I didn't want it to be serious at all, and I didn't care like the age category or the genre. And actually one of my Patreons recommended this book, and she said that this book is perfect if I am looking to laugh, but also if I'm looking for a really good romance. And that book is called That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, and this is by Kimberly Lemming. Okay, first of all, let's take a moment for the cover. It literally looks like a cottagecore dream. I'm gonna be really honest with you. If you're looking to laugh until it hurts to breathe, pick this book up. If you're looking for an incredible, steamy good time, pick this book up. But also, it is quite graphic, okay? And there is some explicit language. So like, if you're cool with that, pick it up. But like, if you're looking for a little bit more of a clean romance or something that isn't quite as steamy, don't be fooled by the cover, okay? It looks cute, it looks sweet, and it is, but she's also pretty spicy. So this book is very, very cottagecore, I believe, and we are following Cinnamon. And Cinnamon wants to be just like a happy little farmer, okay? And like, same girl, me too. She has no desire to go on adventures or slay dragons. Sorry, if you know, you know. Anyways, she has no desire to do any of those things. She just wants to live her happy little life in this cute and cozy village. And then one day she is walking back from this like big festival and she runs into a beautiful man who looks like he needs help. She's extremely drunk and she ends up helping him, and then turns out he's a demon. And then from there, they both decide to go on this epic adventure so that she can help him, because all of the demons, I guess, in her world are sort of being put under a spell, and so she needs to help break this spell because they're being treated very, very unfairly. And like when I say demon, I really mean monster. Like they're called demons, but think like werewolves and dragons and phoenixes, like things that are, I think in our world would just be considered magical creatures or maybe monsters or something. In this book, they're called demons. So it's about her and her demon that she saved named Fallon, and listen, is it a solid 5 out of 5 stars? Yes, it is, okay? Okay, let's move on to cozy mysteries. I have 2 cozy mysteries here, and these are 2 books that I actually have not read yet, but I am pretty desperate to read them. And they are Shady Hollow by Juno Black and also The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley. And I think technically this particular book takes place in August, but they both have such springy vibes that I really, really wanted to include them. So this particular book is about a fox, and the fox decides to solve cute little murder mysteries in her cute little town. She lives in this beautiful woodland creature area. It feels very, very cottagecore. It feels very, very appropriate for spring. And then the other one, The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley, we are following a little girl who decides to solve this murder mystery that takes place at her large, sweeping family mansion with her chemistry set. How darling is that, you know? Next up is a backlist middle grade that I am so excited to read, and actually I'm gonna be reading this with my Patreons this May, I wanna say, and it's called Eva Evergreen, the Semi-Magical Witch. And this book is a wholesome cottagecore-esque book about this cute little witch who only has a pinch of magic, but she has a really, really big heart. It says on the flap, sometimes all you need is a pinch of magic. Eva Evergreen is determined to earn the rank of novice witch before her 13th birthday. If she doesn't, she'll lose her magic forever. The only problem, Eva only has a pinch of magic. It feels very Kiki's Delivery Service vibes to me personally. It looks so cute, it looks so charming, and honestly, it looks perfect for the spring. The next book I have here is my latest 5 out of 5 star discovery, and it's a romance that was so charming and so perfect, and that is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is a book that I have been dying to read for such a long time. It's been described as Pride and Prejudice meets Howl's Moving Castle, and as a person who has completely devoured this book, I have to say that description could not be more accurate. So this particular book is following Dora, and Dora has unfortunately been cursed by a fairy when she was really young, and now she only has half of a soul. She and her cousin Vanessa actually end up going to London to see if they can get the help of a person called the Lord Sorcier, or Sorcier, named Elias. And Elias is pretty grumpy, but he finds Dora's case extremely interesting. The story itself is just about how he's trying to help Dora recover the other half of her soul. There's a lot more than just this though, like it's just not listed in the premise, and so I don't want to spoil anything. But let me tell you, if you are looking for one of the most romantic books you have ever read in your whole entire life, like I could not recommend this more. The romance in it, in my personal opinion, was complete peak, and also there is no steam in this. So if you're a person who is much more into romance as like a courting thing and much more into the pining, the anticipation, the really romantic dates, I think you're gonna really, really love this. Everything about this stole my heart, and I thought it was incredibly, incredibly well done. Okay, and we are on to our last 3 books in the stack. So the very next book actually reminds me of WALL-E or like BB-8 or something. If that robot really, really cared about making all of our problems go away, and they were into tea. That's right, I'm talking about Becky Chambers' adult sci-fi, A Psalm for the Wild-Built. Now this particular novella is actually one that I am currently reading for my personal book club, and if you are interested in checking that out, all of the links for my Patreon will be down below in the description. And And it honestly sounds so precious. So this is actually a sci-fi that is considered to be a cozy sci-fi, sort of like cozy fantasy. And I've heard excellent things about this. It's following a time, I guess, like set in the future, when a robot actually comes and wanders in from the wilderness and the forest, and he comes to a tea monk and he actually asks the question, what do people need? And it says here, but the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. I have heard that this is an extremely wholesome and beautiful book. I've heard that the cozy tea vibes in here are unmatched, and it sounds really precious. I'm also a really big fan of cozy fantasy. Legends and Lattes is one of my very favorite books of all time, and this apparently feels very similar to Legends and Lattes, except it takes place in like a sci-fi kind of world instead of a fantasy world. The next book is a book that I just picked up, and I picked it up actually because it was written and illustrated by one of my very favorite artists of all time, and that is Janet Hill. The book here is a YA book called Lucy Crisp and the Vanishing House. Everything about this to me screams major spring vibes. Let me take off the cover, even though the cover feels super springy too. Like, are you joking me? Look at how beautiful that looks. And then the back as well. Oh my gosh. So the book is following a woman by the name of Lucy Crisp, and Lucy Crisp moves to a town to become a florist. So we're learning about her trying to study about flowers, which again hits all of those spring vibes right there. And I guess her dad actually purchased for an investment this large, big, sweeping old mansion. I think the mansion was built in the 1800s. And once Lucy goes to this mansion, things start happening that are a little weird. So it says strange things start happening. Lucy hears voices and footsteps in empty rooms. She sees people and things that should not be there. Furniture disappears and elaborate desserts appear. Oh my God, could you imagine living in a haunted house where like the ghosts were like, oh hey, you want creme brulee? Done. And then finally, the last book that I have here is a YA book that I really want to read, and I've wanted to read it since last year, and it's called A Far Wilder Magic, and this is by Allyson Saft. And this particular book, first of all, like the vibes itself, peak cottagecore, okay? But then also it just sounds so magical and whimsical. It's about apparently a sharpshooter who teams up with an alchemist, and they enter in on this hunt so that they can both, I guess, achieve fame and fortune, but then romance ensues, okay? And like, I am here for it. I'm here for the wild magic. I'm here for the wild romance. Everyone who has read this book says that it is so wholesome and so sweet, and that it's so interesting, but also that the romance itself is so well done. And yeah, the cottagecore vibes, of course, are immaculate. And my friends, I think that wraps up the entire list. Those are all of the new anticipated releases that have just come out or that are coming out, as well as all of the backlist titles. This particular list has kind of served as a recommendation, but also a little tiny bit of like a spring TBR, even though I've already technically done a spring TBR. Listen, I'm a mood reader, okay? There's no rules. And all I want to do right now is read spring cottagecore romances, you know? Can you blame me? And once again, a huge thank you before we go to the sponsor of today's video, which is Scentbird. And once again, a huge thank you to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. If you love fragrance and you would like to check out their subscription service for yourself, you can use my code, which is Roselyn, to get 55% off your very first month at Scentbird. All of the links will be down below in my description, and I highly recommend checking them out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a huge thank you specifically to all of my Patreons over in Foxenwood, which is my Patreon. If you're interested in bonus videos, in exclusive monthly readathons, in seasonal readathons with maps, in book clubs, in weekly live shows and weekly sprints and writing sprints and reading sprints and movie nights, I highly recommend checking it out. Links for my Patreon are always down below. I just love the community over there so much. And a huge thank you specifically to my Ink and Quill Club members, who are all executive producers of every single video that I make. All of your names will be listed down below in my description box. I think though, you guys, that is it. If you've made it to this point of the video, please leave me a plant emoji of your choice. And until next time, my lovely friends, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!
Always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the air at that time. Don't know why. Always nights dream of you when spring comes. It's like the heat on my skin takes me back to the time met you on